Well, hello, everyone, boys and girls, men and women, young, old, everybody. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel. I'm a little bit tardy, so we'll jump right into this. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. I'm coming to you live from an undisclosed location in the heartland of America, from the heartland into your hearts, we hope. And I'm going to talk today about something that's weird. I don't know why, but I've had probably 5 people, which is a lot for any particular subject, asked me, can you please cover why Stephen was killed? It's supposed to be important for prophecy. And I always get a little worried because I know somebody somewhere is saying something about this on YouTube. I don't get to watch YouTube because I'm just too damn busy. I'll watch Rocky. I'll watch some of my other friends, but I don't get to watch YouTube that much. I watch Wayne. I watch a few people. I just don't have time to watch YouTube, not with all the study and all of the content I put up. So not aiming at anybody, God help me if Naughty Beaver talked about this, because then I'll be called a bad guy, a mean guy, and all that stuff. Hey, if he wants to be a fear porn guy, that's his business, and I won't say anything else about it. But this, I don't know who, when, what, where, why. I just know that there's been a question 4 or 5 times from me to me, why did Stephen have to die? Well, the answer is going to surprise you, because the answer from the text is that Stephen didn't die. And Stephen didn't die because Stephen wasn't even real. I wrote a book many years ago, and I was meant to bring it in here to show you the cover, Apostle Paul, Antichrist. And I think I saw Chase in here, didn't I? Your books, I don't know what happened to them. They went out about 2 days ago. I don't know how they got lost. But I wrote this book, I want to say it was 4 years ago, at least 3, maybe 5. And it covered this subject. So it's been out there for a while. So I don't really understand the inquiries, but we'll talk about it. Stephen didn't die. Stephen wasn't even real, so he couldn't have died. And the only reason you would think he did is if you are ignorant of the scriptures. And I don't mean that by saying you're ignorant. I mean, you just haven't really sat down and read the scriptures from an objective, unindoctrinated point of view yet. Like maybe 5 days. Chase, it hasn't... you just haven't really been unindoctrinated yet if you don't understand this. But guess what? Within the next half hour, you will be, and you'll get it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, finalized artwork today for the Shut Up hot cup of Shut Up coffee. So, boom, we're looking good at that. I actually haven't finalized it yet. I have to ask one more person, but I pretty much know what I want to do. Lack of knowledge is ignorance. The Bible is mostly fake, yes. So here we go. And everybody talks about, you got to start in Acts 7. If you're talking about Stephen, that's really not true. And that's why you miss it, because you start in Acts 7. I'm going to show you why you miss it. And you miss it because you've been duped. You miss it because you've been lied to. You miss it because you keep, when someone shows you who they are, you don't believe them. That's why you miss it. You miss it because you keep thinking they're telling you the truth when they've shown you over and over and over again that they're not telling you the truth. You miss it because you don't understand why the Bible was written. You don't understand when it was written. You don't understand the times it was written in. So here we go. Stephen addresses the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin was the tippity top of the Jewish religious world. It didn't get any more exclusive than the Sanhedrin. And Stephen is preaching to the Sanhedrin, ladies and gentlemen. Sanhedrin, tomato, whatever. Stephen is preaching to the Sanhedrin. Stephen, there's 12 apostles, a whole bunch, and at least 7 deacons, I think we'll see. And Stephen's preaching to the Sanhedrin. This is, you put in Tom Brady. You put in Hank Aaron. You put in Michael Jordan. If it's time to go up against the Sanhedrin, that's the best of the best. You put your best preacher up there. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the key. If you're going to talk to the Sanhedrin, you put Michael Jordan in. Not baseball Michael Jordan, basketball Michael Jordan. You put in Henry Aaron, Barry Bonds. You put in Tom Brady. You put in, Troy Aikman. You put in Joe Montana, the best. You put in Wayne Gretzky for you hockey fans. Tracy Dyer, damn you. She's always stealing my thunder. So let's look at Acts 7. Stephen is preaching, not just to anybody. He's preaching probably the most important sermon ever to date in the New Testament church, so-called. This is the most important sermon ever preached in the New Testament church to date, and Stephen's doing it. Watch this. Boom. This shows you Stephen ain't real. Stephen's a placeholder, and I'm going to show you from history who it really was. 7 chosen to serve. Acts 6. See? You're in Acts 7. Making doctrine out of Acts 7 because you haven't seen Acts 6. And here's the problem. Acts 7 is a text, but without the context of Acts 6, you got a pretext. The pretext is, oh, Stephen preached to the Sanhedrin. No, he didn't. Luke wrote this book, and I'll show you why we know for sure that Stephen did not preach to the Sanhedrin. Luke writing, working for Paul still at this time. So he's writing. Let me pause for a second and explain what was going on. Rome ruled the world, and they ruled Judea with an iron fist. The Roman censors read every word that was written by subject peoples to make sure it didn't contain any seditious materials or any seditious writings. What really happened here, Luke couldn't have written and kept his head on his shoulders. So here's what he did. He gave you a code, which is blatantly obvious to the initiated, but it can be lost on the unindoctrinated. So we're going to help everybody out today. In those days, the number of disciples were being multiplied. The Gentile and the Hebrews were arguing with each other because some said the widows were getting neglected in the daily administration. Then the 12, that's the apostles, they said, hey, listen, man, we ain't got time to listen to Gentiles complain about Hebrews, Hebrews complain about Gentiles. We don't have time to worry about who didn't get their oatmeal and who only got 4 figs instead of 3. We ain't got time for this. Not that it wasn't important. If any of it really happened, we're just dealing with the story. So the disciples said, okay, listen, we cannot leave the word of God and serve tables. We cannot stop studying. We cannot stop preaching and serve tables. Just like I can't leave the studying and the doing of videos to watch YouTube. Bad analogy, but you get my point. So they said, look, we can't do both. So pick out 7 dudes that are good dudes and watch this. And let them take care of the business, the deacons. But we who are the apostles, Michael Jordan's not real. We who are the apostles will give ourselves continually to prayer and to preaching the word. And as the saying pleased the whole multitude, they chose who'd they choose? Stephen. Number 1, they chose Stephen. What does the word Stephen mean? What does the name Stephen mean? I haven't looked this up. This might be interesting. Is there a clue? They chose Stephen. Oh, crown. Stephanos. It means crown. Does it really? Let's look deeper. That which surrounds, a crown, a glory, a garland, an honor. So they chose somebody whose name means honor. They chose somebody whose name means glory. Would that be a fitting name of the guy that Jesus, if he was real, left in charge when he left? Just asking. So they chose Stephen, ladies and gentlemen, as one of the deacons. As one of the deacons who was to be what? Appointed over business. Luke goes out of his way to say, deacons do business. Apostles preach. Deacons do business, says Luke. Apostles preach. Apostles preach. Deacons do business. I'm going to say it one more time. Apostles preach. Deacons do business. Everybody, what do apostles do? That's right. What do deacons do? You got it. Apostles preach, businesses do, or deacons do business. So if Stephen was a deacon, and he was, what was Stephen's business? Stephen was in the business of doing business. And we know cousin business was a booming because there was too much business to do. So Stephen's business was a booming. Stephen's business was a booming, and Stephen was in the business of doing business, but he wasn't even real. I'll show you how. In the box below, there are 3 videos that are probably an hour and a half at least, maybe 2 hours worth of study that show that what really happened with Stephen. And I'm not going to go that deep into it here. I'll refer you to those videos. But here is what happened. He obviously puts this guy named Stephen out there, who is a guy that doesn't preach. And then the next verse, or the next chapter, it's not even 10, 20 verses later, he says Stephen's preaching. But he just said deacons don't preach. Here's a deacon preaching. The apostles got nothing else to do but preach. So you're telling me all 12 of them had laryngitis. All 12 of them had the flu. All 12 of them were had such bad jock itch they couldn't walk up the steps to the temple. All 12 of them had the runs and couldn't leave the hovel. Come on now. You're smarter than this. Luke just said Stephen ain't a preacher, and then the next chapter he says Stephen's preaching. It's code. It's code. If you read through this story and you read what happened to Stephen, if you had read this story, if you had seen these things happen, if you were alive when Acts was written in 60, and when was Acts written? Probably 57 or 8. I've got the Bible here somewhere. Acts was written somewhere in the 50s. If you had read Acts at that time, you know exactly what was going on. This scenario right here, ladies and gentlemen, and see the 3 videos below. This scenario, this whole Stephen preaching thing, it wasn't Stephen at all. It was James. The apostle James was the one who preached to the Sanhedrin. The apostle James is the one who preached this amazing sermon to the Sanhedrin. The apostle James is the one who the Saul of Tarsus, way after the road to Damascus, the road from Damascus, more accurately, came and took James, pushed him down the temple steps, and then beat him to death with a club. That's what Acts 7 is all about. Acts 7 is not about Stephen because Stephen wasn't real. Stephen didn't die in Acts 7 because Stephen was never alive. Learn some stuff. Do some studying. Don't just believe what you're told. Read, study, research. There's 3 videos below where they give you all the sources you need. Stephen didn't die. James did. Stephen wasn't stoned. James was. And the apostle Paul came and bashed his brains out with the Furrier's Club at the end because he wasn't dead yet from being pushed down the stairs, horribly broken, pushed down the stairs of the temple, stoned at Paul's behest. And then finally, Paul took the Furrier's Club from a guy saying they used to beat out rugs and stuff with it and beat James's brains in. It's also dramatically portrayed in Apostle Paul Antichrist by Jeffrey Daugherty, forward by George Norrie, available at www.jeffreydaugherty.com. So there's your answer. Why did Stephen get killed? He didn't. Stephen wasn't real. It was Luke writing about the death of James in a way that he could write about it so people that understood what was going on would understand, but he could also keep his head on his shoulders. Because you can't write the guy that is connected to King Herod and Nero and the Sanhedrin lost his mind, pushed the guy that Jesus left in charge down the temple steps, had everybody stone him, then bashed his head in. It was that guy that is related to the king that did it. You can't say that under military occupation. You can't say that or write that when a Roman censor is going to read it, or else you get killed. So James overestimated the intelligence of some of you. James overestimated the work ethic, really, of some of you. Because most people don't want to study, they don't want to read, they want to watch YouTube and believe what they're told. Well, that's what you get when you watch YouTube and somebody tells you Stephen died and it's a tremendous prophetic event and has wonderful, so much significance. Stephen dying has no more significance than Captain Kirk dying because neither one of them was real. It hurts me to say Captain Kirk wasn't real. I'm still holding out. There's a chance. There's a chance because he's from the future. You never know what could happen. You never know what could happen. Stephen was a deacon. Luke went out of his way to say deacons don't preach. The next chapter, Stephen's preaching. What? What's going on? Let your antenna go up. Do some research. Do some study. Oh, this is the story of James getting killed. I get it. Luke couldn't say it because the Romans would have chopped his head off or beat him. So he said, oh, let's make up this guy named Stephen. Nobody's going to believe that a deacon's preaching because they had just told him that deacons don't preach. So, they'll figure it out because they're studiers, because they're unindoctrinated, because they ask questions and they question answers, because they're trying to guide their own spirit. They're trying to master their own senses. They're trying to be their own guru. They'll figure it out. I trust them. That's what Luke said. And that's what Luke did. And that's what the text, in context, tells you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. That's the story of Stephen. And it makes perfect sense when you let the text speak for itself. In historical reference, Josephus wrote about Paul killing James. It's in histories. Is it in histories? I think it is. Go read it. Watch those 3 videos below. It'll tell you everything you need to know. And will be a nice walk through yesteryear to the many incarnations of Jeffrey Daugherty. Wow, do I look funny in those 3 videos. Whew, kind of scary. So there you go. That's your answer about Stephen. What do we got in the chat room real quickly, since it only took me 17 minutes? Tracy, was it really Stephen? No, smarty pants. It wasn't Stephen. Ready for more excellence. Thank you so much. Hey, Jen Morris. Rocking the man shirt. Oh, it's pink. Yeah. Real men can wear pink, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Stucci in the house. Doc Holliday does Jimmy Swaggart. That's fun. It fits with the Roman scenario. Thank you, Jen, for saying the books are great. Bible Dark Magic. Deacons don't preach. Deacons handed out food. That's right. Tom Brady was on Kimmel last night. I love Tom Brady. I have a lot of respect for Tom Brady. Don't like the New England Patriots, but I got a lot of respect for Tom Brady. That's what happens when you read and study. You understand this stuff. Paul wasn't an apostle. He was a fake apostle. Knock, knock. Who's there? Stephen. Stephen who? What would the answer to that be? Stephen who doesn't really exist? Stephen wasn't equipped to preach to the head honchos. No, he wasn't. Priest class has always been inside the hoax. Deacons do administrative work. Yep. All 12 of them probably didn't exist. There's good arguments for that. I've got the enemy's playbook sitting here somewhere. I do. It's right here in front of me. It's just underneath the whiteboard. I didn't want to get up and grab it because, I didn't want to. Christians only knew. Oh, if Christians only knew. Saul, who wrote most of the New Testament, killed James. They should know. I wrote about it 4 years ago. Captain Kirk has not been born yet. Newbie here. Very interesting. Casey, nice to see you. Always interesting. Always interesting. Never a dull moment, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. There's an answer. Shatner spoke here last weekend. Standing room only. Yeah, he always draws a great crowd. And this weekend, LeakCon. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday. I don't know because I'll be there Thursday. We need a parody of Deacons Don't Preach. Oh, wouldn't that be good? The Madonna? That would be really, really good. Love it. Love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode of Podcast Excellence. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it probably upset some of your tummies, but it's the truth anyhow. And you know what? I just bring the mail. If it's bills, you hate me. If it's checks, you love me. And I never know what's inside, so I just bring it. And there you go, folks. I do appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sending me your letters. I appreciate you sending me the emails, and I will answer, the questions that either catch my eye or the ones that I get repeatedly, like this one. So there you go. The answer to Stephen. Why was Stephen put to death? The answer is he wasn't. He wasn't even real. There's the previous videos on the subject. There's 3 of them there over 3 or 4 years. So take a look at those. Let me know what you think. I'm always interested. Subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. And we do appreciate you. We really do. And I hope that you can make it to LeakCon this weekend. If not, stay watching us. Jen Morris will be there. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you, including Jen Morris, at LeakCon. Until then, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, Christian Whistleblower. You're the last generation of real humans. Start asking questions. Start questioning answers. That's the way that you will unindoctrinate yourself.